Hello, I'm J.P. Roselle, affiliated with Anderson College and an executive member of the Board of Directors of Career Colleges Ontario. As chair of the Public Affairs Committee, it is my privilege to speak to you today about an important initiative, possibly the most important initiative undertaken by CCO in many years. In the next few minutes, I will, 1, explain a fundamental shift in CCO's modus operandi. 2, provide specific and recent examples of CCO's behind-the-scenes work. 3, speak to the why behind this presentation. 4, describe an imminent, strategically critical, CCO-driven initiative of importance to you, your school, and your students. And finally, 5, ask you to participate whether or not you are a member of CCO. CCO's modus operandi has shifted dramatically over the past several years. And although many of you may not have yet seen these changes, you will soon. Recent events and experiences have highlighted the need for a dramatic shift toward proactive, determined advocacy on behalf of not only its members, but Ontario's career college students in general. There is a determination, and perhaps more importantly, a strategic focus shared by the members of CCO's board that the status quo in terms of the relationship with the Ministry of Advanced Education and Skills Development is unacceptable and detrimental to our students' overall success. It is our shared belief that it is up to us to force those changes which will dramatically and positively impact the students we serve. 2 issues in the last 18 months illustrate CCO's emerging shift towards determined, proactive advocacy. The first followed the closure of Everest by the MTCU. The closure itself was not the issue, but the process imposed unilaterally by the ministry certainly was. CCO not only made its displeasure clearly known, but followed up with both written and verbal presentations on solid recommendations should such a similar situation arise at some time in the future. One of the follow-on outcomes was the formation by the minister himself of an advisory committee comprised primarily of career college representatives, many of them CCO board members and members at large, to specifically advise him on desired changes to the Private Career Colleges Act. Unfortunately, the advisory committee was unilaterally suspended after the change in ministers. But that experience of what proactive, determined advocacy can yield has inspired us. The second issue, near and dear to my heart, was an error in the 2014 KPIs surrounding the graduation rate. The error was obvious to the CCO board and the members directly charged with liaising with the ministry. Yet, perhaps due to what many believe to be an ideologically predisposed bias, the error was not as readily apparent to the ministry. CCO and its members worked forcefully to show officials that an error had in fact been made. And as a result of those efforts, the ministry forced a review by Forum Research that revealed numerous gaps in their processes that led directly to errors in the reported graduation rates. The results were subsequently withdrawn, and the processes are being overhauled right now. Now, as to the specifics behind CCO's latest initiative and the purpose of this video. The Executive Committee met a few months ago to review the previous year's strategic plan and set the agenda for this year, a process that was subsequently approved by the board as a whole. The overall move to proactive, determined advocacy in front of the ministry and government, as well as other key stakeholders, has been embraced by the entire board. Perhaps more importantly, the board recognizes that the underlying demographics of our sector are poorly understood by those very groups that seek to legislate and regulate how we serve our students. The assumption by many, long unchallenged, is that our students are simply students, much like the public sector and community college students. That fallacious assumption, left unchallenged, has disastrous implications for us, including the imposition on our sector of KPIs based on university and community college demographics, largely middle to upper class students entering directly from high school. Suffice to say, we believe those KPIs do not reflect the reality of our student base. Another fallout from the lack of understanding of our student demographics is the ideologically driven belief that if career colleges cease to exist, our students would simply attend community colleges or perhaps even universities. We in the career college sector believe that this is a dangerous fallacy and that it leads directly to efforts by public sector interest groups attempting to undercut us. But more importantly, those efforts by the public sector interest groups, if successful, would disenfranchise the students whose unique needs we satisfy. Which brings us to the crux of this presentation. It is critical that the facts regarding the unique demographics, needs, and challenges of our students, as opposed to those of the public institutions' students, be clearly defined and identified, because our students are different. And they choose career colleges because career colleges satisfy their needs in ways that universities and community colleges cannot and do not. In pursuit of this initiative, CCO has selected the third-party, arm's-length, national recognized research firm Environics to conduct a comprehensive survey of as many Ontario Career College students as possible. Further, Environics will analyze the data and prepare a report on the findings highlighting not only our students, but contrasting them to those of the public sector, universities, and community colleges. This report will be presented at CCO's 2017 Annual General Meeting in Niagara-on-the-Lake in June. The benefits flowing from this work are not limited to providing us with facts to engage the ministry, the government, and other stakeholders effectively and proactively. For instance, it is clear that major media such as the Globe and Mail, the Toronto Star, and the CBC have an appetite for significant third-party research on issues of importance to our society, and we therefore have a reasonable expectation that our message will reach a wider audience. Another benefit will be the potential to ally with interest groups that include our students, such as ethnic associations, once we demonstrate to them that their members depend on us to satisfy their unique needs for further training and education. After all, it is well known that sizable, clearly identifiable voting blocks have a strong influence on the political process. So, whether you are a member of CCO or not, I urge you to participate in this survey. The unified efforts of all members of our sector add to the strength and legitimacy to CCO's determined, proactive advocacy on your behalf. Thank you.